remember entering year 7 and being told by my big sister that you should take every opportunity you can. And I think everybody sort of hears that as a soundbite and goes, oh yeah, okay, because everybody says that to you in the start of high school. But now reflecting back, I'm so glad I took that advice, because it has shown me not only what the world has to offer and what I have the potential to do with my skill set, but it's really enriched my relationships, my friendships, my ability to interact with people of all sorts of demographics and all sorts of skill sets and all sorts of character, which is a really invaluable skill to have, preparing me for the real world and preparing to go out and start university and look for internships and looking for work placement. These sorts of soft skills are things that are really going to be well developed through those programs.
The educational philosophy of the school is one where we accept that we want our students to be really adaptive thinkers. We want them to be expansive in the way that they're able to apply their creative thinking skills. And so one way of formulating that, which is traditionally understood, is the teaching and learning that occurs in classrooms. And we understand that students learn differently depending on the subjects. And if you take that idea and extend it beyond the classroom to a range of activities that the students are involved in, the same applies. So there's an awful lot of research about the benefits of learning music and the fact that your neural pathways in your brain develop differently when you learn music to when you learn other traditionally accepted subjects. And we've seen this before. When you learn mathematics and you learn history, different skills, different neural pathways are developed. Well, there's a growing amount of research now that actually looks at the whole range of co-curricular opportunities. And so as students are involved in those, as they're involved in the teamwork and the technical skill involved in that particular activity, or even the concepts that are behind that activity, different neural pathways grow and develop. And so what we want students to be able to do is have a range of experiences, both inside the classroom, but very importantly outside the classroom, that allow their brain neurons to develop in different ways.
There are a number of avenues our students have opportunities here at Macarthur, whether that be in the classroom, in terms of that academic opportunities. We have Socrates, we have Aristotle programs, which are academic programs that really stretch and push students. We have a number of competitions, mathematics, science, history, outside of the traditional classroom. There are musical opportunities, there are sporting opportunities, there are agricultural opportunities for students to be involved in, coding, robotics, Duke of Edinburgh. So there's a plethora of activities that they can choose from, and it's just about often finding that activity that really matches them and enthuses them.
I think the one thing I've noticed in this school is some of the feedback we get from the kids is it's a very safe place. Kids feel quite welcoming and they feel quite safe, and I think once you create a safe environment for kids, then they can relax and they have confidence, so then they can explore and expand and have a go and try new things, and be confident to do that, and so they can push the walls of their comfort zone outwards as they explore new opportunities. And our school gives them so many different opportunities that they can explore. So they've got so many opportunities to try other things, and then they might find the thing that fits for them. And so they're very lucky in that they can, gain confidence with all these extra opportunities they have. And once you have a student who's confident and is prepared to have a go at new things, then that translates into other aspects of their life. And so I think naturally, if you have more opportunities and kids are confident, have developed some self-confidence and trust and can cope with ambiguity and can cope with trying things and not feeling bad if they don't succeed the first time and they keep trying, then that translates into being prepared to be, have a go academically and try and be confident and push their boundaries as they start to try and learn things. robotics too.
I think what we're trying to grow here in students is we want them to be critical thinkers, we want them to be resilient, and we want them to have a growth mindset. So hopefully what we're trying to achieve is by having students encounter difficult tasks, they'll develop resilience, but they'll also develop a growth mindset. So, they might encounter something that they fail at, or they perceive that they've failed at, but actually it's just another opportunity for them to realise that this is an area that they can grow. So my role here as the Duke of Edinburgh coordinator, I will coordinate that program at the school. The program involves students participating in a variety of activities. One of the main ones is an adventurous journey that they participate on. So here at Macarthur, they would participate usually in a hike once or twice a year. The reason I am so keen on this program and the reason I love it so much is because we get to see students grow, we get to see students be challenged, and we get to see them build resilience on the other side of it. So there's been many times when we've seen students who really don't believe in themselves come out on the other side with a completely reframed mindset of how they can interact with difficult tasks. And it's been really amazing actually how they will be able to translate that resilience that they've developed into an academic task. So have students all the time come and tell me, oh, I did my HSC, or HSC's coming up, really don't feel like it, but it actually reminds them of, walking up the mountains in New Zealand or through the Blue Mountains, and they always thought they couldn't do it, but by building that resilience on those journeys, they've actually translated that to their HSC, exams, tests, assignments, all those sorts of things.
My academic results have largely been a result of my involvement in every aspect of the school, in a holistic approach to education that Macarthur encourages. I think it's a really important thing to have access to as many ideas and as many types of education as you possibly can. There are teachers here at Macarthur who specialise each in totally different fields and in totally different ideas, and who have spent their life trying to learn more and more about different things, and being able to access that knowledge and that wisdom is an incredible privilege. My own academic success it feels like a rip-off to say, come from hard work, but it's also come from the ability to be vulnerable in a classroom and to be vulnerable in a co-curricular setting. It's a big deal in high school to be able to admit when you're not good at something, or admit that you've got work to do, or admit that there's progress to come. But it's all about the way that you frame that, and it's all about the way that you look towards the future and what your goals are going to be.
Many schools focus very heavily on content as being a measure of success. So you get the curriculum and you teach to the curriculum, and you look at all the dot points and you tick off all the dot points, and you make sure that students know everything. That's not the approach that we take at Macarthur. The content of any course is the vehicle at which we want our students to be able to learn to be critical and creative thinkers. We want that content to spur curiosity beyond that content.
People probably think of teachers as our job is to deliver content. But fundamentally, for me as a teacher, the thing that makes my heart sing, and the thing that I really love seeing year after year, and I do see it year after year, is when I get those students, particularly my senior students, the ones that are starting the Year 11 courses or starting their HSC courses, is I guess I feel like I've succeeded as a teacher, not when I think, oh, they're learning the content I'm delivering to them well, but when I actually see them lock in and engage and trust themselves as learners. So I actually see my role as a teacher as to encourage them to have faith in their own ability to start their learning journey.
I think one of the main things teachers here at Macarthur are trying to achieve is a passion and love for learning, as well as a passion and love for life in general. It's really about getting students to engage with the world around them, rather than just passively sitting in a classroom, but but letting them really engage in the classroom activities and in the content and learning about how their life is more than just a classroom and sitting and passively taking in knowledge. I think teachers want kids to be passionate about the material that they're teaching and with what life has to offer. So it's about offering, an outlook and a look into the world that you can't really achieve by just reading a book and opening a book and trying to memorize everything it's trying to teach you. But it's about then, using the material that you're given in class and you're taught, and through those relationships of that teacher to really then apply that to your own life and create meaning beyond just, opening a textbook and reading a fact out.
Macarthur's emphasis on differentiation for individual students, on creativity, on compassionate teaching and learning is absolutely integral to how I educate as a teacher in the classroom. I absolutely love the freedom to be creative with my students and to pivot really quickly for an individual student. And that's the silver bullet of teaching, to be able to identify a student and know that they might not be quite picking it up with those visual cues or that particular task that I've assigned them to do. And so we can pivot really quickly, and the school encourages that kind of very nuanced and creative differentiation to our teaching. As a music educator, I love the dynamic environment of the classroom, and Macarthur is very good at allowing us as educators the scope to explore that dynamicism in the classroom.
We're very lucky to have teachers who are very open-minded and who are open to the different styles of education that are out there now for people who think differently and people who have different needs. I now know certain things about myself and the way that my brain works and the way that I'm able to focus and the way that I'm able to process information and the best ways that I'm able to absorb and grapple with information as a result of embracing every opportunity at school. I think it's really important that we all embrace those opportunities to be able to learn more about ourselves and learn more about how we can be successful, because success doesn't look like one thing anymore. Success isn't just A+ grades.
And really an important concept for us in our academic culture is the concept of excellence. Now, excellence is a very misunderstood term in education in that it's assumed to mean outstanding academic success, and it might mean that for some students. But actually it means something different for everybody. It's a very individualistic concept. For those students who are very academically able, well then clearly that's what measures your excellence. But if you're a student who plods through learning, finds it challenging from time to time, or you're a student who really struggles with your learning, well then your measure of success is different. And it's simply a matter of doing something today better than you did it yesterday.
Macarthur is not a selective school, and so we have students who really struggle with learning and find learning really challenging, academic learning really challenging. But then we have students who are very academic. Those students that do find learning challenging can find their place at Macarthur, and so that place might be in one of those co-curricular groups. We see over and over students who are not confident in the classroom because they struggle academically, but they find their confidence often in a co-curricular group because they can shine in another area. They then have that confidence and they bring that to their studies often to say, well, actually, I can conquer.
I think we always achieve strong results because we have a culture where there is an expectation to do your best, but also there's an expectation that you will not expect your best to be perfect. So where students may differ in other schools is that they might get a test back and think they've just failed and everything's over. But here, all the way from transition, we're trying to teach students to do their best and to take every opportunity that they possibly can. So I think by the time they get to year 12, hopefully it's ingrained in them, where their teachers from every different subject that they've interacted with has told them that they can improve, they can grow, they can continue to do better and better and better every time that they learn, every time they get in the classroom, every time that they do an assessment or an exam or whatever. Our message is constantly to take every opportunity that's there and to grow every time you have the opportunity to do something better the next time. So that by the time they get to do their HSC, they will hopefully have that message ingrained in them, and they'll be able to do their absolute best when it comes to crunch time.
Macarthur takes quite an unconventional approach to academics. While we are focused most certainly on the pathways for students after school, those pathways can be many and varied. So we have seen our graduates move through to the stage, for example, move through to orchestra pits, and particularly as a musician, these are the sorts of things that are the forefront of my mind. However, we also see students move through into the heights of engineering and medicine. We see students move through into the fields of actuary studies and mathematics, and these varied pathways that Macarthur facilitates equally well for, I think, is its attribute as a school. So whether you are a musician, a mathematician, or a budding novelist, Macarthur has the nuanced approach to allow you to follow that path.
Something that's definitely been developed in the last couple of years with some really important influential teachers of mine has been the ability to take care of yourself while you're trying to achieve success. It's not a straightforward thing, and it doesn't work for everyone in the same way, but teachers who care for your mental health and your ability to balance your life and your ability to have self-care is incredibly important as you're preparing to enter an industry or a university degree that demands so much of you. Especially for high achievers at Macarthur, which there are so many, it's incredibly sad to watch some students really struggle with taking care of themselves. But that being said, it's also incredible to watch some students learn to take care of themselves in a way that most adults probably don't learn until a lot later in life. These kids are being given the opportunity to access pastoral care support and the access to teachers who really care for them. That shapes the way that they see themselves, their self-esteem, which is really important for high achievers as well, their ability to believe in themselves and what they're capable of.
One of the things that makes me most pleased as head of the school over the years is when I see students as they graduate from the school and they have a sense of hope about the future. They have a sense of hope about the future because they've been instilled with the skills to allow them to grapple with the challenges that life will bring. We know life is difficult, and they've often experienced that at school, and it continues to be challenging when you enter tertiary or when you enter your workplace. And so it's great to see our students being able to go out with an attitude of hope about what the future holds for them, their ability to influence the future in positive ways, the way that they're able to contribute into the future in their communities and through leadership and the opportunities that will present themselves. And so that gives me great joy to be able to see our students achieve and attain sometimes really remarkable things and as a result of what they've been able to learn here. Again, not the content, but the process of learning and the engagement with learning.